My Hero Academia Season 6 blew my mind, and I was so inspired seeing Izuku Midoriya kick butt in that series. But then it got me thinking, I wish I was that hard and strong in my own personal life. But then I remembered, there is a man on Earth that is that strong. His name is David Goggins. With David Goggins being hailed as one of the toughest guys on planet Earth, it got me thinking, who would win in a fight? David Goggins or Izuku Midoriya? And I'm going to be answering that all-important question in this video. And I'm also going to share with you all of the tips and tricks that I've been using to work really hard and go plus ultra in my personal life. I have to edit this out because I'm an amateur, I guess. But, okay, David Goggins, Izuku Midoriya. First we have to level the playing field because obviously David Goggins doesn't have one for all. Well, here's what we do. We give David Goggins one for all, and then we assess them based on that premise. So whose body would adapt better and who's a better fighter. Honestly, Midoriya has so much going for him because he did start with nothing, and he did have basically no quirks, no powers, and no talent, and no one really looked at him. And if you know David Goggins' story, it's kind of similar. So we could say that there's a similar emotional need to work hard and create an amazing thing for themselves and other people and go really hard. However, I think that because Midoriya is still a teenager and David Goggins is a full-grown man, that ultimately I think David Goggins would win. David Goggins would beat Midoriya if you gave him all for one and we'd level the playing field. I think because of the immense amount of running that he's done, his body would adapt to it quicker. So there you have it. That is my view on David Goggins versus Izuku Midoriya. But now let's talk about what can you and I do to pursue our dreams and get hard like David Goggins and Izuku Midoriya. Because, you know, I watch anime all the time and it's super motivational and super inspiring and makes me really happy. One of the things that I had an issue with was, though, my own personal life outside of that wasn't as great as I was hoping it would be. And I wasn't really living up to the standards that I had set for myself. So what I had ended up doing was I was turning to anime, to the wonderful, beautiful art that it is, as a means of coping, as a means of distracting myself from the fact that other aspects of my personal life, my real life, were not all that great. And so first off, we're going to use David Goggins as a way to get some motivation, and I'm going to walk you through how I have applied a lot of these things and what I've done to get myself to a point where I actually really enjoy my life. I'm quite proud of what I'm doing so far, and I actually get to enjoy anime not as a a crux or a pain-numbing mechanism to get away or escape my problems, but to just enjoy it and add it to be a beautiful part of what is becoming a beautiful life. And that's what I hope for you guys, and that's what I'm going to try to help give you guys here today. But first, we really need to understand something. So I'm going to show you guys this clip from David Goggins and to how it all starts with mindset. So let's check this out.
But how did you stop feeling sorry for yourself?
When you really sit back at your life and you are in that dark room and you're looking at where you started from and you tell yourself, God, dog, man, my mom is this way, my soon-to-be stepdad got murdered, my dad beat the shit out of me, I can't read and write to save my fucking soul, I've lied about it to everybody, I've cheated on all these tests. My God, man. And then you coming from that shit. Coming from the fucking hell you came from. A lot of people start from a good starting point. They have a good foundation. What if you can surpass all of these motherfuckers? What if everybody who was fucking start walking and then crawling and then running and then you start passing people with all this given to them. I had to use all this negative shit that was making me weak and horrible as a person. I had to use this as the power that now fueled me. I had to flip it on its head and say, hold up. This might be exactly what I need. A lot of people walk around, oh man, I'm good. I'm good. No, you're not. You have to
settled.
accept what you're not. You have to, and people don't want to do that.
Because
That's
it hurts.
the only way you can fix it. You have to accept it first before you can go on the journey. A lot of folks never even start the journey, man. They never.
We never start the journey, and that is the first part. Is you have to believe that you are even worth taking those steps, worth taking the journey and getting on. That's what mindset is key. You have to at least believe that you can be better. You have to at least believe that it's possible for you to do something right and achieve some sort of small metric of improvement in your life. And so, whenever we can look to anime for inspiration for someone, say Midoriya, he was given absolutely nothing. He had no quirk, no power, and yet he still believed. And he worked really hard, and eventually, as luck would have it, he was given an opportunity. But you may say, oh, he's just lucky. But remember, he had the soul and the heart to take on the responsibility that was one for all. Okay, he might have been defeated and depressed and say, hey, you know what, I'm not worth anything. I don't have a quirk. Even if a quirk is given to me, I'm not good enough to do anything with it. He could have turned down All Might's gift if he hadn't believed in himself and believed that he could actually do something with it. So that's the first step. You actually have to believe that you could do something with what you have or what might get given to you. Remember, luck is preparation meets opportunity. If you can't take advantage of opportunity if you don't even do the preparation of getting your mind right and at least believing that you're capable of doing this stuff. And so the next part for me is why. You have to start with why. You have to believe, why am I doing something? Why am I going to even bother trying to make my life better? Now, there's a couple of reasons. And you don't have to have the perfect why to get started. You can change it as you go. So the beginning, your why, your reason for getting jacked might be you just want to get a girlfriend. You just want to sleep with girls. And that's a lot of motivation, right? I don't think that's a sustainable why. And my journey, I eventually changed it to just being, I just want to be the best version of what I can be. But you had to start somewhere. So you don't have to have a perfect why, but you do need to have some sort of reason to go forward, some sort of reason to do the hard things that need to be done to achieve your goals, whether that's pay off your family debts, pay off your own student loans, pay off medical bills, or get a girlfriend, or get a wife, or just have lots of money, or buy a car. Whatever it is, you just got to pick something and go for it. And as you mature through the process of trying all of these new things, eventually you can update your why to something more holistic and long-term. Don't just stay with the first one you pick, because oftentimes you're not your full self yet, so you don't quite know who you are. So constantly be checking back in with yourself to make sure that the reason that you're doing this is still in line with who you are, and it's actually still something that's sustainable for you. Second is just really simple. It's knowledge. If you're not reading books and listening to podcasts and absorbing as much knowledge as possible in order for you to know what the heck you need to do with yourself in order to achieve a certain goal, it's going to be very, very hard. Like, if you can't at least have a decent idea of what steps you need to take, or a new frame of mind with new knowledge to draw references from, it's going to be very difficult to even take the first step. So first thing you have to do is you just have to saturate your brain with new information. I would get, like what I did, I got Audible and I listened to as many freaking books as possible. Like an obscene amount. I've maxed out all of Audible stats pretty much, except for a few, but I'm basically a master on Audible. I've listened to like 29 hours or so on that app. 29 days. And it's really, really helpful because now I have all of this knowledge as a backdrop to pick from when I'm trying to come up with new ideas in order to execute on. And so after that is you just have to try stuff. You have to keep on trying things or else you're just going to fall. Like, it's not enough to just listen to things and just watch YouTube videos on how to do stuff. And yeah, motivational videos are great, like the one we just watched. That's fantastic. But it's not enough to sit there and just watch David Goggins on repeat. You kind of have to actually do things, like Midoriya. He couldn't just take One for All and become a super. No, he had to go to My Hero Academia. He had to go to the school and he had to train like a freaking madman. He had to break his arms in order to keep, doing what he was doing. Hey, Xander, nice to meet you. I'm gonna run through my quick presentation, and I'm gonna be taking questions at the end. So stick around, and nice to see you in the chat. And so, what I was basically saying is that you have to at least take steps in order to get where you're going. So my reference to My Hero Academia was basically that if he had to go to the school and he had to train his butt off and he had to work really, really hard. But a lot of times you have to do hard things, but you don't want to do hard things, right? Your emotions tell you to run and be safe. And so you have to reprogram your mind to do those difficult things that you don't necessarily want to do. And that's where habits come into play. You have to build up habits. So an example for my habits that I'm building would be, I have to wake up by 5 a.m. Period. Because I have things to do. I have things that I need to get done. That cornerstone habit of always being up and at it at 5 a.m. is something that allows the rest of my day to fall into place. Because one of the mistakes that I made is I tried to have this massive list of habits, just a ridiculous list. And I gotta do this habit every day. I gotta do this, gotta do this, but it doesn't really work, especially when you're first starting out. So you gotta just pick one keystone habit that allows the other thing to fall into play. And typically you have to figure out what that is by experimenting with yourself. Write down a habit and try it out. I recommend you read a book like Atomic Habits or Tiny Habits in order to get an idea of how habits actually work. And then when you keep on trying it, eventually you're going to find those cornerstone habits that allow you to build everything else on top of that. And that's what's going to allow you to have sustainability. And sometimes you have to go all out and make a plan and then recover. Sometimes I have a bit of a habit of burning myself out sometimes. And that's not really a good plan. But sometimes you have to start there. Sometimes you have to burn yourself out and then figure out, hey, this is what overworking is. I need to realign and figure out what I'm doing. And Midoria is bad for this in the show. He breaks an arm or a ligament, every season. Every half of the season he either has to snap his finger or punch somebody and he breaks an arm. I think honestly at this point I think Midoria is going to have to get a new quirk in order to regenerate, because he's going to lose his arms if he keeps fighting the way he does. He just doesn't stop. Just does not stop. He just won't quit, just like David Goggins. And so let's close out this part with, you have to build habits to maintain the things that you're doing for the right reasons. So find a why and start working. Get the knowledge, get the information, and start taking action, and then start building small habits based on your self-awareness that can empower you to do the things that you need to keep on doing. And eventually you can get so good and so hard that maybe one day you can actually be very, very proud of who you are and what you're doing in your life. And you can return to anime and just watch it as much as you want without feeling like it's a crux or something to do to hide away from the fact that your life isn't really what you want it to be. And on that note, if you've ever gotten bored watching anime to the point where you're just scrolling through Crunchyroll and it won't show you a show that you actually want to watch, and you can't get to the point where it's like, oh, I want to watch this show. Like, you have all the best shows right in front of you, Spy Family or Hellsing or My Hero Academia, and you're just sitting there like, and you just keep scrolling. And what I think that is based on my limited knowledge of how the brain works, is your dopamine sensors are completely full. They're completely full, and you can't really feel anything else at that point. You've maxed it out. And that's why we have this issue where you're scrolling through Facebook constantly, but nothing's appealing to you. You're not stopping to watch the video. You're not leaving comments. You're just mindlessly scrolling for half an hour, hoping that something actually appeals to you. That's a sign that your dopamine sensors are completely full, and that you need to go and do something else. You need to go and get a little bit of stress to get different chemicals in your brain, like go to the gym. Or you need to go and spend some more time with your family in order to get some serotonin running through your brain and allow the dopamine levels to come down a bit. And so what I would recommend is if you're scrolling through Crunchyroll and none of your favorite shows are actually appealing to you at that moment, similar to how you just scroll through Facebook, go and do something else. You either need to stop feeding your brain dopamine and go and feed it some serotonin, which is from being with people. Go be with people that you care about, or go and stress your body out. Get some serotonin, go for a run, go for a walk, go have a really hard workout. I think you'll find that when you come back, things will be more appealing to you at that point. But your brain might be so saturated that it actually might take a couple weeks. So what I've done is I've decided that I only watch anime on the weekends and I work really, really hard during the week, so that I've maxed out I'm not maxing out my stress levels, but I'm stressed, I'm working really hard, I'm doing some very difficult things, such as working 10-hour days. That's difficult depending on who you are. And when I get to watching anime on the weekend, it's something that I've been looking forward to all week. And I don't really have that issue of scrolling and just waiting for a show to entertain me, or watching a show for 5 minutes and hopping to another show because you can't stay engaged with it. I find that's a lot. I can actually enjoy anime a lot more of that. So that's what I would recommend to you. If you find yourself just scrolling, and no show's appealing to you, and you're hopping and skipping away every 5 minutes of a show, your brain is saturated with dopamine and you need to go and do other things. You need to work longer hours, or go have a workout, or go be with friends. Get some space between the time you spend streaming anime shows, and you'll find that you can enjoy them a lot more when you do.